covering the world of professional wrestling. This is the Signature Spot with Chris Toplack.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you very much for tuning in to the latest episode of the Signature Spot with Chris Toplack. As always, I greatly appreciate your ongoing support. You can listen to the show every single Thursday on youtube.com/The Signature Spot, lordsofpain.net. They also have a YouTube channel. You can check the show out on there, thegorillaposition.com, and of course, we're on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, Spreaker, and podcast apps such as Overcast. This was a noteworthy week. There's no other way to put it. It's official. AEW will have a new home this coming fall on TNT. They're back in the wrestling business. So we'll discuss that at length during the industry news and rumors portion of the program. But either way, this is great news for everyone who's a fan and everyone who is involved in the pro wrestling business. The news of Silver King's untimely passing was extremely heartbreaking, took place days ago. He was a well-known, influential luchador, known for his stints in CMLL, AAA, New Japan, All Japan, and WCW. That's actually where I remember him from, was WCW in the Cruiserweight division. Whew. They were groundbreaking over there, and he was actually a part of that in the very early days back in 1995. And King suffered a stroke in the ring. He died a short time after that from a heart attack. Regrettably, I saw some of the video, I turned it off, and his final moments in the ring, being on video, circulating around the internet, it just seems very unclassy, unprofessional. He deserved so much better during his final moments on Earth. I also wanted to know quickly, and as you know, I'm a week behind, The Dark Side of the Ring, courtesy of Viceland, such a phenomenal series. The one I watched recently, of course, was Gino Hernandez, and he remains one of the most prominent what-if stories in pro wrestling history. A reputable worker who was great on the mic, possessed a ton of natural charisma, and he looked the part he expertly played. If he could have only avoided those demons, he could have been remembered as an all-time great, but who knows for sure? That's the thing about what-ifs. This week, the very controversial Fabulous Moolah was featured in the final episode. Hopefully there will be a season 2. On the docket today, AEW on TNT. More details. Very exciting news overall. My thoughts on the holy grail of lost matches, Bret Hart versus Tom McGee. Vince opens up to Variety. A weekly recap of Raw and SmackDown and NXT. A full preview of Money in the Bank this coming Sunday with Kyle Scarf.
Your weekly recap.
Monday Night Raw kicked off from London, England with The Miz hosting Miz TV. Roman Reigns ended up being his guest, and the crowd chanted in unison, "Walk with Elias." Reigns put him down as a karaoke singer who hasn't done much of anything in WWE. Then some awkward banter transpired between Miz and Reigns. This prompted Shane McMahon to come out, and he distracted the two while Lashley and Elias jumped them both from behind. This led to a Teddy Long tag team match. Holler, holler, holler. How about Elias walking the top rope like The Undertaker, followed by a Meteora onto The Miz? Very impressive. Overall, it was a competitive match that saw The Miz go for the hot tag, only for Shane to interfere and pull Roman off the apron. After a quick brawl, Roman leaped over the top rope, landing on everyone at ringside. The Miz also landed some chair shots to run off the heels. A great video package aired, highlighting the showdown between Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles on Money in the Bank this coming Sunday. They don't really have much of a history together, but they did square off way back in 2006 at a very small indie event. Fast forward to 2019, and they could be potentially headlining Money in the Bank this coming Sunday. Quite a remarkable feat when you think about it. According to Shane McMahon, the main event of Raw would be Braun Strowman versus Sami Zayn in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Here's the catch. Braun wins. He's still in Money in the Bank. Sami wins. He takes Braun's place. We find out what happens momentarily. We get to Alexa Bliss venting to Nikki Cross because she lost her luggage. Cross is apparently on her medication. She's not a lunatic anymore. She's actually far from crazy. She's now wearing makeup, a lot calmer, even compassionate and understanding. Either way, the writers came through yet again, as it was a very poorly scripted segment. A contract signing featuring Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Lacey Evans took place. By the way, the Sassy Southern Belle is a contender for the worst nickname in WWE, at least in recent memory. Charlotte Flair is a truly gifted performer, but WWE has effectively killed any interest in this feud with Becky Lynch since it has been so overdone. And for the record, I could go without seeing another contract signing for the rest of my life. They are always far too predictable. Baron Corbin defeated Ricochet after countering into the end of days. It was pretty slick. A few notes here. Corbin tends to work very well with wrestlers a lot smaller than him. It was a solid match. And this is fairly minor, but one of my pet peeves is when a wrestler is clearly staring at the referee with wide eyes, waiting for the cue to kick out right on time. It effectively kills the drama, especially when the camera is zoomed in on their face. And it's something I frequently catch Corbin doing. Somebody that does an outstanding job of it is AJ Styles, who keeps his eyes closed, and he just knows promptly when to kick out at about 2.9 out of 3. It's amazing. Cesaro interrupted Rey Mysterio backstage. He questioned if Dominic is even his son. Hey, look, it's continuity with that Eddie Guerrero storyline. All these years later, the two ended up brawling until officials broke it up. Without any explanation, Nikki Cross is back to crazy again. She defeated Naomi, Dana Brooke, and Natalya. Alexa Bliss was on commentary. She came down, climbed up the ladder, captured the briefcase as Nikki Cross held the ladder in place. Rey Mysterio defeated Cesaro following a very lively and competitive match. Let's hope we continue to see more of Cesaro on a weekly basis, as this was just a reminder of how good he can be. We're really glad that you're our friends, and this is a friendship that will never ever end. For one, Ramblin' Rabbit was back in action on Firefly Funhouse like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Bray Wyatt asked if we wanted to see a secret, and all of his puppets looked visibly worried. They were shaking, and rightfully so. He noted having plenty of darkness in his mind. So then suddenly, after several jump cuts and multiple screen effects, Bray Wyatt was wearing a very creepy clown mask. This is courtesy of Tom Savini and the team. He is a whiz when it comes to horror movies. He worked on Friday the 13th and also designed the masks for Slipknot as well. You can see some influence there if you look at the graphic comic of A Death in the Family and the Joker. I can see the influence there. The expected dark turn was in full effect. And then Baron Corbin came to the aid of Sami Zayn. They pushed Braun Strowman out of the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Drew McIntyre also interfered as well. So that's right. Braun Strowman out. Sami Zayn is in. Following Raw on the WWE Network, we were treated to the holy grail of lost matches. Here's some context. On October 6th, 1986, Tom McGee had a trial match against Bret Hart. WWF had signed Mega Man Tom McGee, and they had sky-high expectations. In fact, they believed he could be their new Hulk Hogan. He certainly looked the part, but could he wrestle? As a powerlifter with a gymnastics background, there was certainly potential there. It was a taped match that was meant for television, but never ended up airing. And Bret Hart carried him to an incredible match. For years, this match was simply an obscure folklore that never existed on tape. Harry Smith Jr. and TJ Wilson both claim that they watched the match in 1997 or 1996 at Bret Hart's house during a barbecue. After Bret's assistant provided a photographer with the tape to convert to DVD, she eventually released it. Now, Bret claims he wanted to know 3 of Tom's best moves. They were actually all just basically flips, and then told Tom, basically, don't say no to anything in the match. I will carry you through. In watching the infamous match, Tom McGee certainly wasn't technically sound, but he did look pretty damn good, while Bret Hart did a marvelous job of selling for him and dictating every single movement. Also, the crowd was totally invested in the match and popped pretty huge for a literal unknown pinning Bret Hart. This lost match further supports the notion that Bret Hart can make any wrestler look outstanding. And for nearly 2 decades, I have adamantly believed that the excellence of execution was and is the greatest in-ring storyteller of all time. Roman Reigns kicked off SmackDown Live by introducing The Miz as a solution to Elias. The wild card rule was on full display. Suddenly, Shane and company had a 4-on-2 advantage when he introduced Daniel Bryan and Rowan to join himself and Elias. After The Miz and Reigns took a fair bit of punishment, the Usos ran out to even the odds and clear house. This set up a 4-on-3 match later on in the evening. A fatal four-way between the SmackDown Money in the Bank participants took place. That was Orton versus Andrade versus Ali versus Balor. It was a fairly solid match. Andrade won following the hammerlock DDT. He climbed the ladder and was about to grab the briefcase, but suddenly Raw superstar Ricochet ran down. He hit a springboard onto the ladder, knocked Andrade off, and pulled it down. You never know what can happen with this wild card rule, I guess. Charlotte showed up and she went through the typical jargon of being the true face of the women's division. She then threw to a video package that highlighted the history between herself and Becky. Lacey Evans appeared backstage, noted that while everyone seemed to be focusing on Charlotte and Becky, they tend to forget that Lynch has 2 matches. She further noted that Becky's new nickname would be Becky Black Eye, and hers would be Lacey Evans, Raw Women's Champion. Still to be determined if she realized that's not really a nickname at all. The team of Shane McMahon, Elias, Daniel Bryan, and Rowan defeated Roman Reigns and the Usos after Shane hit a coast-to-coast on Jay. The match was enjoyable, but likely belonged more in a house show than on SmackDown Live. The Miz ran down with a chair to eventually chase off the heels yet again. Paige officially dubbed Asuka and Kairi Sane the Kabuki Warriors. If memory serves me correct, I swear this is the title of a video game. Is that really the best they could come up with? Either way, the Kabuki Warriors faced the team of Fire and Desire comprised of Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Asuka rolled up Mandy Rose for the victory. Despite the fact they positioned this as a new episode of Firefly Funhouse, it was merely a repeat of what aired on Monday night. Yowie, wowie. Now, do you want to know why Bray Wyatt's promos, the vignettes here, are arguably the best thing going on the main roster? Apparently, he has complete creative control over Firefly Funhouse, and this has led to something unique and undeniably engaging. You don't need to love it, but come on, it is something different on a weekly basis. And they need to allow its talents with the freedom to create. Here's the case in point. Bray is shining. WWE needs to replicate that with other stars. It's sink or swim, and clearly he is swimming in the deep. Kayla Braxton, can you please tell me how it feels to be fined $100,000 for extremely insensitive remarks? Lars Sullivan, silence. Okay, that did not occur, but let's pretend it did. That's how I played it in my mind. It was an awkward segment. Kofi Kingston was originally scheduled for the KO show, but he came out first, and then he called out Kevin Owens. As Kevin came down to brawl with Kofi, Sami Zayn attacked Kofi from behind. Xavier Woods attempted to come to the rescue, but he was immediately cut off. Reunited, and it feels so good. Sami and Kevin are once again aligned. This begs the question, what happens by chance if Sami wins Money in the Bank this coming Sunday? Missing in action was Percy Watson. Mauro Ranallo explained that he has gone on to pursue other opportunities. In truth, he has gone on to pursue acting. So joining Mauro Ranallo and Nigel McGuinness is Beth Phoenix, a welcome addition to the commentary team, if you ask me. In the ring was William Regal. The Viking Raiders joined him to relinquish their tag team titles. Very underwhelming, if you ask me. They were interrupted by the Street Profits. They want one final crack at the tag team titles. They were granted this. It sets up our main event. Kathy Kelly was backstage with the Undisputed Era. Roderick Strong was not around, so tensions still clearly present. Then suddenly he emerged with a flip-flop. Apparently there was some blood on it too, claiming that he took care of the Matt Riddle issue. Is this simply a red herring by Strong to further attack Cole, or is he starting to earn back trust with the Undisputed Era? Who knows for sure. Keith Lee was back. He defeated Cesar Bononi following the Pounce and Spirit Bomb. Feels like forever since we have seen Lee, so it was nice for him to have a dominant victory. Kushida forced the finest, Kona Reeves, to tap out to the hoverboard lock. A great showing for Kushida, far better than his debut in my humble opinion. Vanessa Bourne, with Aaliyah by her side, defeated Jessie following a neckbreaker. My thoughts are still incomplete on this duo. They haven't really initially impressed me much. They continue to find their identity. I'll give it a bit more time. The Viking Raiders versus the Street Profits was cut drastically short. Apparently, it was a no contest. The Forgotten Sons got involved. I'm assuming this will lead to a match between all three teams. I don't read the spoilers for NXT, so perhaps this is accurate. Either way, we will find out next week. I love NXT, but the past couple editions have been somewhat mediocre to average. So hopefully it starts to improve as they head towards the build for NXT TakeOver in Connecticut.
The latest industry news and rumors.
It's official. AEW, All Elite Wrestling, will have a new home on TNT this fall. Warner Media released the following statement. Warner Media announced today that it is partnering with All Elite Wrestling AEW, the new professional wrestling promotion featuring a world-class roster of diverse male and female wrestlers, giving fans a new wrestling experience for the first time in 20 years. Warner Media and AEW together will build this powerhouse sporting league from the ground up and will begin airing weekly matches later this year. With this league, AEW is introducing a new generation of wrestlers to fans, offering fun, gripping, and authentic athletic matches that will make wrestling more accessible to a broad audience. Warner Media will utilize its position as a next-generation global media company to build this league into a global pro wrestling franchise. Very exciting. Warner Media will also provide exclusive multi-platform access for fans to watch AEW events, airing live weekly matches on TNT in prime time, as well as streaming them through Warner Media's Bleacher Report Live and on pay-per-view. So, if you want to order the pay-per-view AEW Double or Nothing on Saturday, May 25th, it will be $49.99 in the US and Canada on Bleacher Report Live. Incredible news for the entire professional wrestling industry as a whole. For the wrestlers, they have an alternative where they can actually be featured on a pretty major platform. And then for fans, we have yet another alternative that we can digest, and it's going to be vastly different from what we're witnessing in WWE. So it's really a win-win situation here. WWE has announced several matches for Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia taking place on Friday, June 7th. The main event will be WWE Hall of Famer Goldberg versus The Undertaker. Triple H set to take on Randy Orton, along with a 50-man battle royal that happens to be the largest in WWE history. MLW announced that Austin Aries will be returning to their promotion. Austin Aries was last seen in Impact Wrestling, before that on 205 Live. Vince McMahon was recently interviewed by Variety and responded to John Oliver's recent criticisms with the following. Anybody who wants time off can get time off. That's easy. In addition to that, it's easy to weave a talent in and out of a storyline. If they get injured, you're not expecting that. Or if they have a family matter. Our characters are real people with real problems. It's a revolving situation where this talent will work these dates, the talent will work those dates. Now, here's the thing. I disagree with what Vince is saying, because if you miss many dates, they'll just extend your contract at this point. So only partially correct and vastly different what he has believed in for the past 30 years. The ladder of success is best climbed by stepping on the rungs of opportunity. This coming Sunday is Money in the Bank. I am joined by writer Kyle Scarf as we provide you with a full preview and predictions for the full Money in the Bank card.
Our topic of the week.
Money in the Bank takes place this coming Sunday, May the 19th, from the WWE's backyard of the Excel Center in Hartford, Connecticut. 11 matches are set to take place. 21 have won Money in the Bank, with 17 successfully cashing in. Kyle, does this seem like a card that can live up to expectations? Is it a sleeper? What are we going to encounter this coming Sunday?
I feel like this is a card that possibly should have been like the WrestleMania card. It's a lot leaner than WrestleMania, which had, went 25 hours. And there's some
not as long as
matches.
a Hillbilly Jim speech, though.
No, I think that's still going on if you listen closely enough. There's some matches on this card, specifically like the Universal title match and the WWE title match, that have match of the year potential. And I think, with, as we spoke briefly off air, with everything that's going on in the wrestling world, they're going to go out there with a fire underneath them. And if given the right amount of time and hopefully not overbooked, we could have a really good card here.
Definitely. I'm not going to focus on AEW, but with Double or Nothing being 6 days away, you can imagine they want to raise the bar. Let's start with the kickoff show. It was announced at the 11th hour during the tail end of SmackDown Live. WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championship on the line. Daniel Bryan and Rowan versus the Usos. Of course, the wild card rule officially in effect here. So while the Usos are exclusive to Raw, at least for now, they also appear on SmackDown. I'm interested to see, and I don't believe it's going to transpire in this match, if a Raw team happens to win a SmackDown tag team match and they bring it over. It doesn't really matter that much anymore now that the barrier is basically torn down.
Yeah, nothing really seems to matter the past few weeks. I think putting this match on the kickoff show, despite the insane amount of talent in there, is actually a really good idea because it's going to kick off the show really hot. The Usos and Bryan and even Rowan's been kind of bringing it for, given his history that we've seen. I think this is a great idea for, getting the crowd hot right off the hop. But I don't see the Usos with them being on Raw and the fact that they already lost to Bryan and Rowan. And this seems to be where they're going with them for a while. I go with Daniel Bryan and Rowan.
The likelihood of a quick title reign for Bryan and Rowan just seems very unlikely. I don't see it being cut short. And also, I would love to see their tag team titles converted to hemp. So my prediction will be Bryan and Rowan to retain the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Cruiserweight Championship. It is Tony Nese defending against Arya Daivari. With Daivari being one of the original members of 205 Live, he's a logical choice to push as a new heel opponent for Tony Nese. Nice to see him get an opportunity really to kind of main event the 205 Live scene now.
Yeah, I'm liking what they're doing. Like, I'll be honest, I've fallen off on staying up to date with 205 Live. Excuse me. But the fact that Tony Nese is the champion, he's been there since, the Cruiserweight Classic back in 2016. Arya Daivari, he's put in his time. He is a good heel for that show. And, the fact that Alexander's gone, Buddy Murphy's gone, and, Ricochet bypassed 205, thankfully.
You have Perkins, who they released as well, who was he was a pretty prominent fixture of the show for at least a couple of years.
Yeah, he's the winner of the CWC and the first Cruiserweight champion. And I think that this new guard, I like what they're doing. These guys are getting the opportunity. It seems almost like a pseudo NXT now where, they're preparing the guys for coming up. That said, I don't think Daivari is established enough to be the champion. I also said that about Tony Nese, but he's really made the best of what he's gotten there.
Yeah, he's coming to his own for sure.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm going with Tony Nese.
Tony Nese to retain. That's my prediction as well, too. We move ahead to the United States Championship. It is Samoa Joe, the Samoan submission machine, taking on Rey Mysterio. And since losing in 1 minute at WrestleMania, Rey Mysterio has redeemed himself to earn another shot at the United States Championship. In particular, Joe has been annoyed with Rey and his son Dominic's constant gloating and will look to put an immediate end to it. Now, many are predicting Rey Mysterio to win this match. I believe Samoa Joe will attack Dominic, and this will lead to a distraction, and he will retain his U.S. Championship.
I'm going the other way. I think Dominic will be involved. Is this on the kickoff or the main card proper?
I think it's on the main card. It should be.
Yeah, if it's on the main card, not the kickoff, either way, I'm going with Mysterio. But the whole Dominic portion of it, I think if it's on the kickoff, they're kind of throwing that away. But if it's on the main card, they can use that going forward. So I think Mysterio is going to take it in kind of an upset. honestly, Joe is better than the U.S. title. He should be up higher, but with the move to Raw, it's a little iffy, especially with the boundaries being broken down. But I'm going with Mysterio either way.
Perfect. You're going with the vast majority, at least that I saw online. Next, Roman Reigns versus Elias. After attacking Vince McMahon and Elias during the first SmackDown after the Superstar shakeup, Roman Reigns has continued to target WWE's favorite songsmith. The expected outcome would see Reigns get his arm raised, but in order to extend this feud, Kyle, I believe it makes far more sense for Elias to get the win after some form of interference. So my prediction is Elias. I'm walking with him this Sunday.
I also will be walking with Elias, despite the fact that, everyone's expecting Reigns to get the win because he is Roman Reigns. I think there will be some, like you said, some form of interference, depending on where this match is on the card, if it's before or after the steel cage match. I'm expecting Shane to get involved. Possibly, maybe even, I don't think Drew McIntyre has a match, or is he in the Money in the Bank?
He is.
Okay, so, yeah, I'm not sure who, if it's not Shane, but something fishy's going to happen. Maybe a guitar shot. Who knows? Maybe even Jeff Jarrett.
That seems highly doubtful. But yes, Shane seems to be the likely candidate. They're going to space out that steel cage match with the other two Money in the Bank ladder matches. You don't need that many gimmick matches so tightly close together. So, yes, Elias. Next up, let's talk about the match. The Miz versus Shane McMahon. It is a steel cage match. The A-lister asked for this match as a way to exact his revenge on Shane. This was for attacking his father at WrestleMania 35. I'm quite positive this will be the blow-off match between these two. And this is despite the fact the wild card rule is in effect. I just see no reason for this feud to continue. I'm giving it to The Miz this coming Sunday.
I'm going to go with The Miz as well, and I agree it needs to be the blow-off, especially since Shane's kind of already moved on into another feud
with
being
Roman.
Part of the Roman Reigns Elias thing. So I'm just wondering what kind of crazy bump Shane's going to take. Part of me was even thinking Shane's going to win by being thrown off the cage through the table and, his feet hit first. But The Miz really needs it to kind of solidify this new babyface version of him.
Definitely. Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. This will not be the actual placement of the match, but I'll put it here anyway. It's Alexa Bliss, Naomi, Natalya, Dana Brooke, all representing Raw. Bayley, Mandy Rose, Ember Moon, and Carmella representing SmackDown. The difference to me on paper between Raw and SmackDown is night and day.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Just so much more. I think the women's division as a whole is better on SmackDown and has been for quite some time, even after the shakeup in the wild card. I'm interested to hear who you're going with on this one.
We never discuss our picks prior to all of this. We call it on the fly. So last year, Alexa Bliss represented Raw. She won the contract. I believe they're going SmackDown. I have two choices. It's either going to be Mandy Rose or Ember Moon.
Oddly enough, my two choices as well. My heart says Ember. That's who I want to see. My brain says Mandy.
Yeah, the thing about Money in the Bank is it makes far more sense for a heel to win, whereas they can be opportunistic, such as Edge and so many others. When the babyface wins, like we saw this with CM Punk, right? I believe when he cashed in on Jeff Hardy, fans boo it, right? Because you can't cheer against Jeff Hardy. He's the ultimate rock star. So in this case, I believe it makes far more sense from a logistic standpoint for a heel to win.
Yeah, plus Mandy Rose has that X factor of Sonya Deville being, that henchwoman to help her win it. Well, and on the other side, Alexa apparently now has Nikki Cross, but that's not solidified.
Or does she though? Or does she? Is this a bit of a ruse? Is this a red herring? It could be.
Oh yeah, like I totally think Alexa's using Nikki. It's just a matter of if Nikki is in on that or not.
Definitely. So. Men's Money in the Bank ladder match representing Raw, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, and I believe that's really it over there. And Sami Zayn, that's right. We also have Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Then we have Finn Balor, Ali, Andrade, and Randy Orton from SmackDown. Pretty solid competitors in this match.
Oh yeah, like there's guys in there. Pretty much every single one of those guys is exciting in some way, except for Orton and Corbin. Ricochet is going to do some crazy stuff. So I feel the same with Ali. Finn, Andrade, and Sami Zayn are going to bring the work rate. Who won last year's? It was
Braun.
Braun, and then that went to waste.
Now, Braun was originally in this match, by the way, but according to recent reports, he's battling an elbow injury, so that's why Sami Zayn was added as his replacement.
Yeah, I still see him kind of getting involved somehow to prolong the feud with Sami there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, going my heart and brain, my brain says Drew.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to be my pick, but I really would love to see it go to Andrade or Ricochet.
Yeah, I mean, I would obviously love to see Ricochet in an ideal world. I just believe the likelihood of that happening is slim. Quite frankly, what actually shocked me here, and obviously they're leaving him for some bigger plans, but I am quite frankly surprised Aleister Black is not participating in this match.
Well, he's been locked in that promo room that Mojo Rawley finally escaped from this week.
Yes, so he will emerge with some shattered Luna Vachon face paint as well, right?
Yeah, Luna Vachon, Bull Nakano thing going there, which was terrible, but we're not here to review Raw.
No, we're not talking about Mojo Rawley during Money in the Banks, with all due respect to him.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm going with Drew. He seems the most likely candidate to be in a position to be the next world champion of either show. In this case, I guess it would be Raw. But with the wild card rule, who knows? Maybe you could come over to SmackDown and cash in on the WWE champion.
That is true. Remember, it is any champion, though, so it could be on SmackDown. Now, here's an interesting scenario as well. Sami Zayn returns. He attacks Kofi Kingston on SmackDown Live. Kevin Owens is challenging Kofi Kingston. We'll get to that momentarily. And this is a scenario that has been painted, could Sami Zayn win, which would be a total shocker, and somehow get involved over there? I believe that is not going to happen, but an interesting scenario nevertheless.
Yeah, to see Sami win and then have KO win and him cost him the title, much like, as a parallel to what happened in NXT. I don't think the storytelling by the creative there is strong enough to put the pieces together for that, but that would be incredible.
So I'm going to run down this very quickly to me. So when we look at the ideal candidate, at least in the eyes of Vince and WWE, Ricochet, not quite ready, even though he is really rapidly getting over. Baron Corbin, he's too busy waiting tables at Olive Garden, not going to happen. Finn Balor, he's the Intercontinental Champion, doesn't need it. Ali, it's too soon. Sami Zayn, I can't see him carrying a championship on a World Championship or Universal Championship level. Randy Orton doesn't need it whatsoever. That brings us to a couple different people here. And I believe it's either going to be Drew McIntyre or Andrade. Andrade because he has Selena Vega by his side. He has the work rate on his side. He's a great heel. I think that he can actually grow even further as a performer. And of course, on the flip side, Drew McIntyre is just battle-tested, battle-ready.
I agree with both. To be honest, seeing Andrade really starting to get over has been one of my favorite parts of SmackDown recently. I've loved the guy since his NXT run. He is just incredible in the ring, and I don't think I've seen him have a bad match. Even the match he had with Drew back where he won the title, and Drew got injured, and he still, carried him through the rest of the match, and they made it look like he had no idea. So definitely, I would be happy with either of those, but personally, I think Drew is more ready.
Yes, and while we're at it, too, credit to Selena Vega for her work and her role with really furthering Andrade into that main event scene. She's done a masterful job as well.
Oh, it's so good to see managers back, and she is, doing a phenomenal job over there.
Definitely, through and through, very effective. We move ahead. I don't believe they are going to do this back to back, but they could. That could be a way that she actually loses one of her championships. It's Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship. I'll go there first versus the sassy Southern Belle, the worst nickname in recent memory, Lacey Evans. What's going to happen here?
This one's hard because Vince is in love with Lacey Evans. It's been reported, and it was obvious pretty much from the first time I think I saw her in one of the Mae Young Classics. I was like, this is what Vince wants through and through. That said, I don't think she's ready yet, and it feels like it would almost denigrate the WrestleMania main event for Becky to drop the title to a newcomer so soon after WrestleMania.
Unproven. That's the thing. It's different if it's somebody that comes in with just great credentials, or without a shadow of a doubt, they can carry the torch. She is still very unproven. That's not a bad thing. I like to see somebody new in this position. It just gives us some variety, but at the same time, we know she's not quite ready. This will be her biggest test to date, but I would be absolutely shocked and color me surprised if she actually wins in really what is her big debut when you think about it on the main roster.
Yeah, like it's nice to see a match that we haven't seen 1,000 times, whether it be in having seen it in NXT or on Raw and SmackDown. But like you said, she is unproven on the main stage. This could be her coming out party. Like if she shows up to work and puts on a great performance, she's set. But it's still too soon to put the title on her at this point.
This is an evaluation. If I'm sitting in the back, I'm sitting there with a notepad or a laptop, I'm taking notes and I'm seeing, could she be a flag bearer in the future? Or could she be even in the near future? But it's not going to be right now. Becky Lynch will retain the Raw Women's Championship.
I see Bruce Pritchard back there with that notepad and, Vince being like, come on, pal.
Come on, pal. SmackDown Women's Championship. Wash, rinse, repeat. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. And while Becky emerged from WrestleMania as the champ, Becky 2 belts, Charlotte was never pinned, despite losing her championship. Now, here's an interesting point. Becky is apparently, I guess, on Raw, on SmackDown. We don't really know, right? But her boyfriend, now that this has been really publicly stated, publicly released, Seth Rollins is on Raw. And along with the fact that that Raw women's division desperately needs some star power, they've been somewhat depleted as of late, I wouldn't be surprised, don't shoot the messenger, if Charlotte managed to bring the SmackDown Women's Championship back to Team Blue full time.
I could definitely see that. It feels like these two matches, it's almost like when you send a carbon copy in email.
Something's going to happen.
Yes, absolutely. I still feel like it might be too soon to take both belts off her. Just again, we want to keep pushing that historic first women's main event at WrestleMania. So I'm going to go with Becky here. I would not be surprised in the slightest if Charlotte does take it. Maybe, a Bayley heel turn, the horsewoman thing going there. But I feel like they're going to give her another month with it before she drops it, and it probably will be to Charlotte. I guess it all depends, too, on the placement of these matches. If it's after the Women's Money in the Bank, who knows, maybe she'll defend successfully against Charlotte, and then Mandy Rose cashes in, or whoever wins, depending. So
very true.
There's a lot of variables there, but I'm gonna go with Becky 2 belts.
Here's another factor that you might not be considering. There's a WWE 24 episode airing immediately following
Yes, that's right.
Money in the Bank, and it is solely focused on Becky Lynch. Now, if they're going to do that and further promote that, I would imagine that they're going to keep both belts on her.
It's a safe bet. Like it seems almost counterintuitive to do it any other way.
So let's move ahead. WWE Championship, Kofi Kingston versus Kevin Owens. Despite being immediately embraced as an honorary member of the New Day, it was simply inevitable that Owens would turn on Kofi Kingston. If you heard weeks ago, I discussed the analogy of the frog and the scorpion, and it's just his nature. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Xavier Woods has also been on the wrong end of several Kevin Owens attacks. I can't imagine they cut this Kofi Kingston reign short so soon. He's been doing a remarkable job as the fearless babyface champion. Reminds me a lot of a Bret Hart, who manages to overcome the odds and get over with the crowd, and most importantly, get them excited, get them emotionally invested in him.
Yeah, if you would have told me a year ago that A, Kofi Kingston would be WWE champion having won it at WrestleMania, and B, that he would be the most over guy or one of the most over guys in the entire company, I don't think I would have believed you. I would have given that spot to Big E. Who, by the way, if you don't follow on Twitter, it's a must. He is hilarious. That said, yeah, I agree with you. Kofi, it seems too soon, much like the Becky Lynch scenario. If this happens after the men's Money in the Bank and that whole scenario with Sami Zayn, I'd say KO. But I'm going to go with Kofi here.
So Kofi Kingston retains. That's my choice as well. Universal Championship, I believe this should rightfully headline the card. It is Seth Rollins, the champion, versus AJ Styles, a battle between the old guard and the new guard, two of the best in the business today. And the basis of this feud, and what I love about it, is really a matter of who's better. And for that reason alone, the build has felt very organic and believable. AJ Styles, a longtime veteran who has carried the torch and looks to make Raw the house he can rebuild after they burn it down together. But Seth Rollins isn't ready to let the flame diminish. Who takes this one?
Well, given the fact that they've already version of the card for the Super Showdown Saudi show has leaked, showing Seth defending against Brock Lesnar.
Oh boy.
I'm going with Rollins, and you know what, even without that card leaking, it's too soon to again take it off Rollins. I could see AJ winning the Universal title. I hope this doesn't get overbooked like the ending. You know, they don't do a schmoz or anything like that. I would love to see this become a modern day trilogy a la Flair and Steamboat. Give them a couple matches over a few months. Just let them go out there, do their thing. We know both of them are extremely capable. And I'm going to say this is match of the night.
I think that is a clear-cut winner for match of the night. AJ Styles will do the honors. He'll put over Seth Rollins. Again, AJ doesn't necessarily need to be reigning supreme as the Universal Champion. Seth Rollins still very early into this run. He will head over to Saudi Arabia as the Universal Champion to defend against Brock Lesnar. Seth Rollins retains this coming Sunday.
Full agreement there. And I think that match is going to be match of the night, possibly match of the year candidate.
Reach for your dreams, kid. Jim Ross. It is Money in the Bank this coming Sunday. Kyle, as always, thanks for joining me.
You're listening to The Signature Spot with Chris Toplack.
Between the official news of AEW landing on TNT this coming fall and Rick and Morty having a new season released in November, this was one hell of a good week, and I will celebrate at the World Expo of Beer this coming Saturday as I sample about 30, maybe more, likely more, of the best beers in the Michigan and Ohio area. My fourth consecutive year at this point. I'm a bit of a veteran, and if you know me, I'm a craft beer enthusiast, so I will be in bliss. And I will still catch Money in the Bank this coming Sunday. If you would be so kind, tell your friends, family, and fellow wrestling fans to tune into the Signature Spot on a weekly basis. We continue to grow support, and it's all because of you. So until next Thursday, happy trails to you until we meet again.
This concludes another episode of The Signature Spot with Chris Toplack. For new episodes, subscribe on YouTube. Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, or iTunes. And don't forget to follow the Signature Spot on Facebook for exclusive clips, polls, and opinions.